Hello everyone. This is Sova TV. Today we are going to tell you a very funny story going on in Korea. Since the start of the coronavirus, we think that there will be no disagreement with Korea as the country that is doing the best quarantine, recognized by leaders and media from all over the world. In the past 8 months, Korea has faced 3 crises after experiencing the corona crisis. However, Korea showed excellent ability to cope with crises. Based on medical technology, the Korean government immediately approved the PCR tester and immediately approved the rapid testers, thereby contributing greatly to stopping the spread of corona by supplying testers necessary for infection testing in other countries. In addition, Korea has put a lot of effort into preventing further spread by introducing a tracking application using IT technology to conduct inspections of people who have been in places where infected people have visited. The institution that played a decisive role in the progress of all these heavy work is the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, under the Ministry of Health and Welfare, a Korean quarantine agency. The person who leads this Center for Disease Control and Prevention is Jung Yoon-kyung. The media around the world praised her for the results of Jung Yoon-kyung, and the media is constantly paying attention to her remarks. The reason is that, as a quarantine expert, in addition to the fact that she is doing well in quarantine, we can know the predictions about the corona she sees through her remarks. This important person, who is a leader, Jung Yoon-kyung, was accused of murder by an old far-right conservative group in Korea.
No! God, please, no! No!
It is not yet clear who is behind this conservative group. However, the Korean media estimates that there will be Sarangi-il Church, an old far-right church that held an illegal protest on August 15th. The number of illegal protesters who participated on August 15th, identified by the Korean government, is said to be about 41,000. The problem is that people who participated in the protest were notified voluntarily to undergo corona testing, but about 20,000 people are still refusing the test. As of September 3rd, the number of protesters and secondary and tertiary infections as a result of the Korean government's total number of protesters is said to have reached 1,200. Among the infected, many of the leaders who led the illegal protest on August 15th have been confirmed, and they are now diagnosed with recovery and continue to engage in anti-government activities after being discharged from the hospital. These old conservative and far-right groups filed a complaint with the prosecution against the leader Jung Yoon-kyung of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention for abuse of authority, coercion, and abandonment. They argued Yoon Kyung, leader of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, disregarded the opinions of experts to close the border when corona landed in Korea, ignoring the people's wealth and life. In addition, she drove the people who participated in the protests on August 15th as the main culprit for the rate proliferation of the coronavirus. Therefore, Yoon Kyung is the main culprit for the spread of corona. Most of the Korean people cannot stand their anger over the actions of the far-right conservative groups. Korea is a country that generates income through trade. It is a country with an economic base that cannot block borders under any circumstances. They may be right if the countries that blocked the entry of Chinese citizens in the early days of the coronavirus outbreak are now free from the corona. However, currently no country in the world is free from corona infection. Border blockade is not a way to prevent the spread of corona infection. Korea is implementing Stage 2.5 of quarantine. Stage 2.5 is just below Stage 3 of movement control, meaning urgent measures are being implemented. Accordingly, Koreans are obligated to wear masks in all public places, and many Koreans are reducing going out as much as possible in accordance with government measures. This is viewed as the voluntary heart of Koreans who endure the self-sacrifice of, "I am a little uncomfortable, but I will be willing to accept this discomfort if the majority get better." Also, schools that should have already started do not know when to start again. It is the voluntary participation of all citizens who wish for students to return to their normal classes. The success of the coronavirus quarantine, which was achieved through voluntary participation of the people, has rapidly increased due to illegal protests on August 15th. This accusation by the old far-right conservative group, which was the main cause of the increase in infection, is expected to lead to stronger opposition from the Korean people. Currently, the Korean people want a government that responds strongly to illegality. They say freedom of protest should be temporarily limited to prevent the spread of the invisible virus. That's it for today's video. If you are curious about the next video, press the button. Please don't forget to click the subscribe, like, and alarm buttons. From COVID-19, always be careful for the safety of you, your family, and your neighbors.